First day of the men's meet. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon. Matt, Gordon, hello.
Kevin, you're talking very monotonely and like very droggy. We just saw a crazy finish in the 10K. Who had Patrick
Listen,
Deaver on their top three potential, even number one overall finisher on their board outside of the state of Oklahoma? I don't think anyone did.
outside the city of Tulsa. You're right. You're right. I'll bring more energy. This is late night recordings, Gordon. I got to get used to them because we got the 3 more days of this, and then we got, of course, a bunch of trials days coming up. Overall, what were your thoughts of the meet? I know we're going to go race by race. We're going to break everything down. We're going to spend a lot of time on the 10K. But overall, what were your thoughts on day one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised that no one that we would have had on our list won that 10K, especially a 10K where the talk of the entire season has been, what will Kiptoo do? What will Kiptoo do? You have Kurgat, who's the defending cross-country champion in the race. Hold on, I'm just trying to mute this TV. There was just no one was talking about the guy from Tulsa, and Deaver was legitimate. He got 5th in cross, and he just got overlooked by the NAU guys, by the 1-2 punch of the Iowa State guys, by Connor Mance, who won cross. But for him to be in the mix and be able to win it was one of the more shocking results I think we could have expected. Part of me was thinking it was going to be a Robert Brandt win, which would have been the ultimate, like, I am no longer going to be getting 8th in any race. He ended up getting 4th, but you look at that reaction from Daryl Zaziki, who TF is Patrick Deaver? Exactly. Who is he? Well, he's not American. He's from England. He got 5th in cross. He has legitimate track times. He's run sub 13:30. So he has the talent, but you just had yet to have that marquee performance. He competes in the American Conference, and no one's really looking at the American Conference results. But he has some speed. He has a 3:41 1500 PB and 27-minute, 27:40-ish 10K PB. Question is I think the British championships and all the qualification for the Olympics is pretty much already in the bag. But you got to think, if he keeps on developing in these next few years, he will be hopefully maybe in the Mark Scott range, right? You see Mark Scott, he won the 10K a few years ago, his senior year. And Tulsa, man, they know what they're doing. They got Chris O'Hare coming out of there. They got Mark Scott and now Patrick Deaver. We don't even know how to say his last name. Is it Deaver? Dever? How do you even say his last name? That's how shocked we are. How do you even say his last name?
The pipeline is real. Yeah, I want to dive more into this race, but before we go any further, we recorded our last episode before we got the news of John McDonnell passing. So it's our first opportunity to talk about that. So I want to mention it at the top of the show. Legendary coach for Arkansas's men's cross country and track teams, Gordon, and just a titan in the sport. For those of you who do not know about John McDonnell, if you're new to the sport, you should go back and look. If you go back and look through the results from decades past, you'll see a lot of Arkansas next to team champions in those 3 sports, and those were McDonnell teams. 40 titles total, 40 titles, 19 indoors, 11 cross country, 10 outdoors. He did the Triple Crown 6 different times. There was one stretch where they won 12 straight indoor titles. The athletic director at Arkansas called him quite simply the greatest collegiate coach in the history of intercollegiate athletics. So that's not just talking about track or cross country. It's talking about in all of college sports. And there's an argument, obviously, for that. I mean, when the amount of titles you win, Gordon, is more than the years that you spent at the school, that's saying something. 40 titles in 36 years.
Yeah, it's kind of weird looking back at the record books. It's kind of like, I know I always like doing basketball references, but it's kind of like a Wilt Chamberlain type stat. You know, everyone talks about the 100-point game. No one's ever going to touch that, averaging 40, 50 points and 50 rebounds. That's what McDonnell was doing on the track with team titles and the dominance for multiple years. Like you said, 40 team championships across 3 different seasons. It's insane. It'll never be repeated. We think what the current, when NAU wins 4 out of 5, or when Florida wins a bunch of outdoor titles over a period, nothing of that compares to what Arkansas did in the 80s. It's definitely something that won't ever really be repeated, especially now with the talent kind of going all over the country. But yeah, he's one of the pioneers, right, for collegiate track and field and collegiate cross country. And I think a lot of coaches, of now kind of, they all strive to be just a fraction of what McDonnell was during his tenure at Arkansas.
I remember talking to Lance Harder a couple years back when he was going for the Triple Crown at Arkansas as well, or holding 3 championships at the same time, I should say, right? Because they got indoor, outdoor, then they got cross the next season. And I asked him some generic question along the lines of, well, what would it mean to you, or what would it mean to the program? And he said, hey, I'm at a school that had John McDonnell, where championships, Triple Crowns in particular, happened quite often. So that was not to say that was the expectation, but it just put everything in perspective of like, okay, that's awesome. You got one. Well, you're coaching at a school where somebody did that thing 6 times, and you'd still hear coaches, reference back to what he did, some of his indoor teams, or he'd bring just a handful of people, a miler, a couple jumpers, and leave with the title. Obviously, if you can excel in cross country and then also indoor, which we know is sprint jump heavy, right? And you can do both of those things for that long a period of time, it means that you figured it out. You figured it out. And to do it that many times for that long, I agree with you. I think it's one of those things where we're just not going to see it again.
Yeah. And you see, while you were talking, Wallace Spearman, one of the marquee athletes coming out of Arkansas, put up a post. But like, just basically the entire Arkansas community is kind of reacting to this, rallying around this. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I believe on the Arkansas kits at this NCAA championships, I think they have a patch or a sticker or some little icon to kind of commemorate McDonnell. And it's not even just Arkansas. Like, you see Houston coaches talking about him, people from other conferences. He was just, he was transcended across the entire collegiate system, because what he did at Arkansas will never be done again. And it's pretty wild. He lived a long life. So I'm sure a lot of people who were coached by him and people who worked with him, that's definitely feeling it right now. But I know that they got to be a part of something that no one else would be able to be a part of in future years, because he was one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we'll move on to the action on the track today. So let's start first with this 10,000, the only running event final of the day. Listen, from the gun, this was strange, because there was a number that I saw for Wesley Kiptoo's first split that let me know we were in for something very, very bizarre. Because I thought we'd see straight up 60, maybe if he was being cautious, a 61. Never in my right mind, Gordon, did I imagine we'd see Wesley Kiptoo go out in a 63 for a 10K, even though that would be insane, an insane pace to take on. But you could just tell he was not trying to break this field. I thought for a while, hey, he's going to do everybody a solid, because he's just basically going to serve as the rabbit then. And if you look at these final times, he did basically everybody in the top 10 except for Connor Mance ended up getting a personal best. Actually, everybody except him and Connor Mance in the top 16 walked away with a personal best. And that's due to Kiptoo setting the table, to Kiptoo running splits that were fast but not insane after the initial 63. Like, he goes to 68, 67, 66, 66, 66, 67, 67, 67. But it became clear with 6 laps to go that this race was not about Wesley Kiptoo. And that's where I was like, wait a minute. Now any plan you had, if you're running in this race, went a bit haywire, because you were planning for chaos. You're planning for 60. You're planning for a 4:15 opening mile. Like, you weren't planning for conservative Kiptoo. And then when it happened, I'm sure deep down they were grateful, but strategically it probably threw them for a bit of a loop. How did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, once I recognized that it wasn't going to be what we thought it would be, and even Edwin Kurgat not being in the mix,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, the Iowa State 1-2 dream is definitely not happening. I just started thinking about the combinations of like who is going to like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, the favorite right now is Mance, right? Because he has the most experience. He's the one who has proven himself. Now that Kiptoo's out of the picture, but like, is there going to be an upset? And I did joke around with Johanna when we were watching this race. I was like, watch, I bet you the Tulsa kid wins. And then he
Mm-hmm.
won. And I was like, of course, because it kind of reminded me of the Ben Flanagan,
Mm-hmm.
race where, Ben Flanagan came out of nowhere, won for Michigan over Vincent Kiprop. We just have a lot of sometimes really random 10K results when we don't have the obvious winner, like when Lowy and Ches were dominating. We're kind of like, all right, there's that one guy who's going to win. Everyone's fighting for second. But as soon as Kiptoo's out, we were like, okay, we're going to see a first-time champion most likely.
But
And
you didn't
we
think
saw
Mance? Why weren't you thinking, okay, this is Mance's race then, with 6 to go?
I thought Mance was I thought it was his race, but I didn't think it was a for sure type thing. I was like, Mance could be beat because I looked at like Abdiham and Nur. He didn't look tired. There's just a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. It's a group of 5 or 6, and it's kind of like, all right, like when there's just a lot too many variables, too many people to just guarantee that Mance is going to get it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we saw. I mean, they were all together in the final, all the way through to like the final 50, and then Deaver pulls away and wins it. And they ran legitimate time. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
fake like 28-40 win. It was 27-41. There's some Americans in this race who just qualified for the Olympic trials, which
Yeah.
actually is going to be a factor because Galen Rupp was ranked 26th overall, so on descending order list. And I knew one person was scratching. Blaise Farrow was going to scratch, so he was ranked 25th. But now that you had Isaid Rodriguez just got a
Mm-hmm.
qualifier, Charles Hicks just got a qualifier. Galen Rupp might not be going to the Olympic trials now because of this crazy NCAA race that we just saw. Not that everyone's thinking about that one random thing, but it's just a fun fact. I don't know. That was interesting.
I love how you just jumped all the way over to Galen Rupp. Also, I believe Charles Hicks is British. That's the second time
Oh, he
we've
is?
given
Okay, never mind that.
American citizenship to a British athlete.
I don't.
Listen,
Sorry.
it's easy to do this in retrospect, but I'm thinking, and especially because of how fast they ran. But when I was thinking about Mance's chances, I did not think they would be best served by 5 or 6 people together at the bell. I thought they would be better served by a longer drive for home. And when you look at his time, 27:42, it's really fast. Wasn't a PB, but still really fast. It's hard to think, oh, he should have done this different or could have done that differently. Or maybe if he knew Kiptoo was not himself, he would have done something different. But he wanted a long drive from home, right? I think his plan was going to be similar to cross country: absorb the blow, make the big move with 2K to go. And the fact that Kiptoo wasn't himself, I think, changed that. But by that point, it's too late. You've committed to the race plan, and then are you going to make a big move with 1,200 to go? It makes your choices very, very difficult. So I think Mance got stuck between a rock and a hard place there with how that race played out. And I think most people would have made the similar decision as he did, because you're going against a guy in Kiptoo who's literally only done one thing. But listen, we know why Kiptoo went out that slow right now. He wasn't feeling good. Something is up with Kiptoo, right? I mean, that's that like
Clearly.
they were using him as a rabbit, but that was Kiptoo going full gas on June 9th, given whatever he's dealing with. That was not
Do you know?
Kiptoo changing his strategy, I don't think.
Do you know what would be a very like hilarious Kiptu type thing that happened next is that Kiptu goes into the 5K and runs like 13:05 and wins
Yes,
it.
yes,
Like that would
yes.
totally happen. I would not throw that out the window to see Kiptu just run like sub 13:10 in the 5K because he just has the weirdest type of racing strategy. The way he ran crazy during the prelims, he ran crazy during Big 12s. Obviously, we saw what we did in cross
He-
and indoor. But hey, we get to see him again next year, so I'm excited to see. Maybe he's
yeah.
learning or not learning. I don't know. Is he learning? Does he learn from this race? Does he?
No. Well, no, I don't. My point is, okay, if you're A plus Kip2, right? Then you're going out 61, right? You're going out way more aggressively. But for B minus or C plus, whatever version of Kip2 this was, he still used the same strategy. It just was to a lesser degree because he clearly wasn't 100%. The better, like the smarter strategy, if his goal was just to, oh, I want to finish fifth or fourth, like why do all that leading? Why go out and even go out in 63? Like make somebody else do it. He did the same strategy, but he wasn't at full fitness for a reason we don't know yet. And that's why he was going slower. I don't think it was a tactical decision. Hey, I'm going to throw a wrench in the plan and go a lot slower. I think he just needed to go slower because of whatever's going on with him. I'm just still surprised, man. That bell, who was there at the bell? It was crazy. Mance, Deaver, Nur. I'm looking else who was there.
Brant was there
Brant,
trying to break the not finish
Hamer.
eighth curse.
Yeah,
Hammer was there,
Hamer,
yeah.
Masai. So it was 6 guys who hit the bell at 26:44. And then Wildshot was at 45. Hicks was at 46. Rodriguez was 46. So even those guys, you'd say, had a chance to do it. It was weird. It was not what I expected. I did not think that many people would be involved. I did not think the people that were involved were actually involved.
That's why they run a race.
Man. Yeah.
So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a rapid reaction / previewing to the finals because we're gonna go live during the actual men's finals on Friday. We will do another live pod after tomorrow's women's prelims. But let's work our way backwards in time. So the men's 200 happened. No one notable didn't really make it. I feel like basically everyone that should have made the 200, and we can even go back to the 100, made it. But I want to talk a little bit about this Houston LSU back and forth we're starting to see. Did you watch all 3 sprint races, 4x1, 100, and 200?
My feed wasn't working for 4x1, but I got 100 and 200. Yeah. I saw the results for the 4x1. I saw Houston and LSU were in the same heat, which was perfect.
So we all know LSU and Houston have a little bit of history going back to when we did the film on Houston back in 20.
Oh, I see.
18 or 19? It was 19, right? When they did that.
Yeah.
We saw those like that look when, Travis Collins and LSU guys. So this is the 4x1. Terrence Laird in the prelims of the 4x1 looks multiple times at Sean Masagawa. Am I saying his name right? I just want to make sure I'm saying his name right.
Maswangani.
Excuse me. Apologies, Sean. Maswangani multiple times, and they both easily qualified. They both are big Qs. So then Maswangani follows up in the 100 and looks at him and smokes Terrence Laird in the 100 and does a look at him. And I'm not going to lie, Terrence Laird going into this race, I looked at the heavy favorite in the 1 and 2. But Sean Maswangani looks, I think, so now this is the back. Now look, show this. This is Maswangani looking at Laird to be like, oh, you're going to look at me when he had the lead in the 4x1? Well, in an open 100, I'm going to smoke you. And we're just seeing this back and forth. Laird then doing the same thing in the 200. Man, I can't wait to see Laird and Maswangani face off. Laird was the heavy favorite going in, but I'm not sure if you should take much from a prelim, but man, Maswangani looked good in the prelim.
Yeah, so 4x1, obviously, the table is set there. FSU is going to be a factor as well, too. So don't count out Florida State, but we're going to get a good LSU-Houston battle there. Again, I can see you just want to go out there and film the extra episode of the doc, right? Yes. Already. You just want to get out there, call up the film crew, get them out there. Let's do the extended episode here, the bonus episode at the end. The 100, Actually, let's start with the 200. The 200. Laird's better event of the two, we'd probably say. But if
Yeah.
Joseph Fanbele of Florida can get even a decent start, not even a great start, if he can just get a decent start, he's going to be an issue in that race because he came on the last 70, 80 meters, and it was Lyles-ish. I'll say that, those last few meters. And he closed very hard, got a PB of 20.05. Laird won his heat. Maswangani looked like he was just toying with the field. He won his heat. I think it's between those three, but Mekhi Harris and Matthew Bowling, Jovan Martin, all there. I mean, that's going to be a great race. The 100, I think, is much more difficult to sort out. Would you agree? Because you have someone
Yeah,
like
because
Martin who's
you have
capable,
Martin's
but then
running well. Michael Williams of Oregon is looking
Burnett, who
good.
ran great today for
Yeah.
USC, like he's on the come up right now, too. Maswangani, yeah, he beats Laird in that prelim. Is that just leftover energy from the 4x1 loss, or is that really the difference between those two right now? I think it's going to be a different story come Friday. But yeah, Maswangani really impressed me with both of his efforts, or all three of his efforts, I should say. Just solid across the board. Laird looked good, and Fanbele, it's all about the start with him. I mean, his start, unfortunately, in the 100, his start just puts him out of it. I mean, he got back and got a qualifying spot in that 100, but come the final, you're just basically spotting guys 2-3 meters with a start like that.
Yeah. I just am excited that we're going to see them all race each other 3 different times.
Yeah,
the 4x1, 100, 200. And I think this isn't like a down year. Like we keep on thinking we might get a down year once a lot of people graduate. We see like Divine Oduduru, is gone, or you see like, no one's going to come up, but like we're going to see top 5 all-time type marks in these finals, in this 100, 200. Trayvon Bromell said himself, he said, yep, all this is about to lead to a fast 100 come Friday. He knows, he sees the back and forth. He sees what's happening. And there's people that we're not even talking about, like Jovan Martin, like you said. He's the NCAA leader, Florida State. I'm just excited. That's going to be one of the highlights of Friday, is just seeing who becomes victorious of those like big 3, big 4 guys. Right now, I'm going to, based on just going into today, it was all Laird. I was like, Laird's going to win it all. But now, I don't know. Austin Conway, man, I kind of want to start thinking Houston might pull off the triple, win the 4x1, 100, and 200. I don't know. Why not? It could happen.
It looks like he's coming into his own there. Just like he's gaining confidence with every race. Laird is just so solid, and he's been so consistent this year. It makes him a good pick. And then you got Williams running at home for Oregon in the 100, at least. And as you mentioned, Martin is the national leader based on time. I did not anticipate the beginning of the year the men's 100 being this hot, but it's going to be amazing. Like by time, it's kind of wild. Laird has the slowest qualifying 100 time. Now he got an auto qualifier, he got a big Q, but that just shows you how competitive this 100 is going to be. And Williams for Oregon, 10.11 after that 60 title. He got all these guys, they have big race experience. It feels like, even though we haven't seen them in a big race, and that's what makes it fun to watch. All right, do you want to go in backwards order, or do you just want to jump around to the stuff that make the most headlines here?
I mean, we do whatever we want. We're winging it. It's Wednesday night. It's 11:40. If you're on the East Coast, holler in the chat because you're staying up till midnight watching us. We really do appreciate that. I will have an update on the team score dynamic of how it changed based off who made finals and stuff like that. I'm just waiting on the men's pole vault to become final, and then we'll be able to sort that out.
All right.
But yeah.
Let's talk men's 1500. 1500. Yeah. So we got, 400 hurdles went pretty much to form. High hurdles went for form. Steeple. 400, Randolph Ross looks good. Trevor Stewart. Noah Williams, all looked solid. I think the other races to zoom in on, besides for the field event finals, with basically Juvon Harrison doing Juvon Harrison things and winning his 5th NCAA title in the long jump. I think the bigger stories would have been in the 8 and the 15, particularly the 15, just how fast that final is going to be. I don't see it going any other way unless Iliad Kipsang does what Kip 2 does tonight, which I don't think that's the case because he looks fit and ready to go. It's interesting, Gordon. If you got your heat assignment for a 1500 in a championship meet where you needed to qualify, would you be mad that Iliad Kipsang was in your heat, or would you be happy that he was in your heat?
Happy. I want to always be in the fast heat. I'm not
and
trying
you're going to get in the fast heat. He guarantees your heat is going to have a quick time, and he did that in this race. And what's crazy is he got it going quick, but then he didn't push it to win. He was perfectly content slowing down in that home stretch, and Negus goes by, Garcia Romo goes by, and he's fine. But they just cruise to 337. So I don't see any way that this is going to go slow in the final. And it impacted the second heat too, because Cole Hawker went right to the front, and I thought, okay, maybe he's going to slow this thing down. No, they went out pretty quick, and he won that second heat in 338. So we're going to get the Negus, Kipsang, Hawker, Tanner showdown. How many people do you think can win this? Actually, I'm curious. How many people do you think have a legit shot on Friday of winning this?
I mean, I would say a legit shot. I'd say 2 have a legit shot. 5 could win. So 2 are like, yeah, you're very likely to win. 5, I wouldn't be surprised. And then the other 7, I would be shocked. So
are you going to name them?
The 2,
or are you just going to say the numbers?
The 2 would be Hawker and Negus. Those are the heavy favorites. And then the 3, 4, 5 guys would be Kipsang, Sam Tanner, and I would go with what's his name? Suleiman.
Okay.
Because I just believe in Ole Miss, and Suleiman's the best of the 2 between him and Mario Garcia Romo. So, and then the rest, I would be surprised.
Here's why I think this is interesting, and this is a bigger conversation than just this 1500 meter race. But the men's 1500 this year, in particular, has just taken on a totally different attitude, Gordon. We've talked about it on the pro side of things with people like Hoare, people like Josh Kerr, Timothy Cheruiyot. Well, he's been doing it for a couple of years, but getting after it and making the 1500 actually a 1500 instead of a 600 with a warm-up of 900 meters before it. And there could be the collegiate record on Friday. There could be several people breaking the old collegiate record on Friday. And people are going to yell about the shoes, and they're going to go, shoes. And that's fine. I think the shoes help. Otherwise, everybody wouldn't be wearing them. But you also need to take into account that we have had a small amount of 1500s and championship races where people really go for it from the gun. And if we had more of those throughout history, maybe times would be quicker because we would have people in the prime shape of their season getting after it instead of just trying to close quickly. And I just think it's so interesting because the 1500 was not like this 5-6 years ago. We did not see this. 5 or 6 years ago, they let Iliad Kipsang go. 5 or 6 years ago, Heat 2, Cole Hawker, the favorite, he goes to the front and he just slows that thing down because he says, I'm Cole Hawker. I'm the indoor mile champion. I'm the indoor 3K champion. You guys are all going to have to outkick me. Watch how slow I can go in this first 400. I'm going to drop a 70. Hell, maybe I'll do a 72 just to screw around. But the entire vibe around this event has just changed. And I don't know when it started. I don't know where it started. I'd like to do a full investigation on it. You could say it's the shoes, But that doesn't have anything to do with the fact of people deciding to go out. They're all wearing the shoes, right? Tactically, it doesn't make any sense why now all of a sudden you'd go out fast versus pre-shoes. That to me doesn't make any sense. It's some sort of change in attitude with the competitors, and it's just been contagious to the point where we have races like this.
And it's great. This is good. I want better 1500s. Some people like sitting kicks and seeing 343 win it, like when Mac Fleet was doing his thing, winning the sitting kicks. But I liked it when you have people just go from the gun, and it keeps it honest. And then it's truly like the best wins. It's not just like who has got lucky with a crazy crowd with 200 meters to go. I mean, that is an interesting part of sport when there's like that little bit of chaos. But a lot of times you kind of want like it to be hard, so you know that you're really kind of weeding out the weak before you get to that final 300, final 200, as opposed to letting someone weak come in and steal a slot.
Well,
but whatever.
And it's not. So. Well, it's not even that, because they're all good, because they're all at that level, and just to even qualify, you got
weak compared to others. Yeah,
I'm just saying, stylistically, it's fun for a change to watch this type of racing. When I was in Doha, and people were just going for it, and my theory there was the air-conditioned stadium. People weren't worried about the heat at all. Like, it was really easy to get yourself suckered into a fast pace. It was interesting. It was so much fun to see how the rest of the field reacts, and it was fun to see distance runners in the best shape of their season get to put that fitness to the test for the full distance that they're competing, and not have it just be a last lap burn up or 2 laps to go, right? We already have the 800. We don't need to see it again in the 1500. We already have the 1500. We don't need to see it again in the 5000. Again, it's fine. And they're still worthy people winning those races. And they sometimes develop into really exciting races, but it's good just to see a change. It's good to see a switch. And it's just interesting, because I thought for sure, I'm like, man, Hawker Heat 2 going to the front. All right, he's going to slow this down. And there's going to be for sure no qualifiers out of this. Now, they didn't get any qualifiers out of that heat, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Right? They got after it. 338 in a prelim? Are you kidding me?
I mean, we're normalizing sub 340, which is great. We need to normalize it more. Sub 340 should be a baseline for every elite field in the NCAA system, which is great. Yeah. Well, we'll see if it continues, but it's great. I'm
just saying this. Hold on. Well, I want to talk about the DQ too in the 15, if you want, because I know you like DQs. But like, I say this just because we're going to get inundated with shoe takes after the 1500, and I just want people to be prepared for that. That you could also say, hey, it's just the fact that we have people going for it in 1500-meter finals, which they haven't done in years. All right, Reed Brown from Oregon, DQ'd. What do you think?
What was the reason?
Home stretch looked like he passed right at the line. Passed right on the inside. From the angle I only saw one angle. It was from very far away. I could not draw any conclusions, but it looks like that's where it came from.
Man, Oregon milers, you said to me in text, they keep on getting DQ'd. Saw James West dealing with his stuff. Now you see Reed Brown here again DQ'd in this 1500. It's always a bummer, but especially, I mean, sometimes 1500-meter DQs are kind of weird because it's such it's a fast tactical race a lot of times. So there's a lot more touching and pushing and like missed trips and steps that can kind of cause people to lose balance. Because you're just going at such a quicker pace than you would be going like in a 5K or 10K. So you can easily lose your balance. But yeah, it was a bummer. Kind of feel bad for Reed Brown on his home track. Oregon only getting, looks like one guy into the final after having 3 there, and West and Brown both not making it. But there's one event I want to talk about.
The 800.
Yeah. I want to talk about the 800. So I was really looking forward to the second heat of the 800, because in the second heat, you had the number 1 and number 3 ranked athletes in Isaiah Jewett and Brandon Miller, both 145 guys. You had the number 4 ranked athlete in Festus Legat, who is one of the better kickers, who's run 146 low. And then he also had Devin Dixon, who is not the same as what he was in 2019, but he's run 144. So I was like, oh, that's going to be a wild heat. And I was like, who's going to get out of this? And both of the 145 guys go 3-4. Like the number 1 and 3 ranked athletes get 3rd and 4th in that heat. I was like, this is incredible. Fortunately, both Miller and Jewett still got in on time because the final heat wasn't fast enough. But this final has a lot of interesting like dynamics because you don't really have a true favorite, but you have a lot of really interesting kickers. You have Yusuf Bismaina, who's been running on fire for Texas, who can kick with the best of them. Festus Legat, who we know is a great kicker. Finley McLear, my favorite one-time American, now British guy who I called American, but he was never American. He can kick. He saw what he did in the indoor scene against Charlie Hunter. Charlie Hunter, he's the indoor champion. He can kick. And then you have the people who are actually fast, like Isaiah Jewett and Brandon Miller, who are true 145 guys who I think in a perfect race can run 144. I think Jewett or Miller are good enough to potentially get 3rd at the Olympic trials. Like, that's how strong I think they are.
Whoa.
I don't know if they will now, but like, I'm just really excited for this race because I don't know who's going to win. And I think whoever does win is going to have the race of their life because it just is going to be such a dynamic field. But that's all I got to say about the 800. I'm most excited about that one.
You're sleeping on. Did you even mention Heat 2's winner name? The guy who beat?
Oh, Shane Strike. Yeah, of Lipscomb.
Shane Strike of Lipscomb. There we go.
Great.
And Festus Legat, your guy Festus got in. That was a wild last 50 meters. And I thought those dudes I thought they were both going to be out, but turns out those times held. Just a wild race. I'm rolling with Hunter. If I had to make a pick, Hunter at home, indoor champion. I think he looked pretty relaxed. I think he used the least amount of energy from any of these guys. I know that's not a scientific metric from where I was watching on my couch, but he looked like he was in a good position the entire time.
I'm rolling with Texas. I'm rolling with Yusuf of Texas.
You got 2. If you go with Texas, you get 2 because Creighton Carrozza made it as well too.
Yeah,
you get two for 1 there. I mean, shout out to Lipscomb having 2 guys in the meet. That was pretty. Right? That was pretty impressive as well too.
Drake had 2 1,500 guys in the meet.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
It's cool seeing these smaller schools get multiple guys in an event. I think we end this podcast talking about the team implications because interesting things happened. Obviously, LSU, heavy favorite going in. Going into this meet, I had LSU projected to score 87. However, LSU's 4x4 didn't qualify, which is crazy. No. I had them getting second in the 4x4. LSU's one of their hurdlers, Eric Edwards, didn't qualify.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is going to be a big deal. But this is the thing. LSU found ways to get points in the hammer, and they freaking won the javelin. LSU won the javelin throw. Bring up the results of the javelin. I don't think I had them even scoring in the javelin. It's at the top, Travis. Boom. Down a bit more. There you go. I don't know how to say his name.
Zuriel
Pedigo, the freshman, wins it in 76 meters. Those are massive PB. Beats out the Mississippi State guys who I thought would go like 1, 2, 3. But anyway, because of that, LSU and they had John Nadal did a good job in the hammer. LSU is projected to score 84 points now. So they went from 87 to 84. Oregon went from 47 to 45, so they still hold on to their second place projected finish. USC had a bad day. They went from 44 to 30. Texas went from 40 to 42, so they moved up. And North Carolina A&T went from 32 to 37. So right now, the projected top 4 are LSU with 84, Oregon with 45, Texas with 42, and North Carolina A&T with 37.
Okay, but in those projections, you have Laird sweeping. You have Noah Williams winning. Do you have Burrell winning the 400 hurdles? And do you have Damian Thomas winning the high hurdles?
I have Yes, I have Damian Thomas winning the hurdles, and I have Burrell getting 4th in the 400 hurdles.
Okay. I just want to see how much margin for error they have. Listen, I mean, Javon Harrison's going to get you another 10, and you figure Laird is not going to drop too low. They hold on to the baton in the 4x1. It would need to be a catastrophically bad day for LSU not to win this. I mean, you're giving them 40 points, right? So all the people out there listening, you can have a friendly bet with your friends, set the over-under LSU's margin of victory at 40 and just see what happens. And you might be good if you take the over. Yeah, I thought Rayvon Gray in the long jump finishing back in 7th. I thought that might impact them. And then I saw Edwards didn't make the final, but they just add points in the throws and they're all good to go. All right. Should we leave it there? We got to see, the thing is with these late night things, we gotta get ready for tomorrow because we got to get this posted up. Thanks everybody for tuning in live on the FloTrack podcast YouTube page. We'll be back tomorrow. What time, Gordon? Again, what's the time?
Tomorrow at 8:50.
So basically, right after the women's 10K, come here.
Yeah, after the women's 10K. Hop on.
We'll talk again. And that's it. Sorry, the music cut out. Lost my train of thought. Thanks to Colt for producing. Thanks to Travis for producing.
Yeah.
Gordon, thank you. Thanks everybody in the chat. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday.